All right, so you ready to really get into this?
Yeah, let's do it. This is going to be a good one.
Today we're diving deep into a question we got right
Yeah.
about India's development, specifically the role of politics and politicians.
And we've got a ton to work with, too. Looks like someone's been doing their homework.
Seriously,
Yeah.
we've got articles, research, the whole nine yards. They're really interested in education, infrastructure, things like skill development, and how all that ties into finance, which honestly, it's all connected, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a bit of a web, but that's what makes it so interesting. So what's got you hooked? Anything jump out from the get-go?
I gotta say, just the scale of everything, it's a bit like, whoa. But one thing did stand out.
Yeah.
Education. Specifically, these notes about the national education policy.
Mhm.
They're talking about upping spending to 6% of GDP. That's huge.
No small potatoes, that's for sure. And the thing is, it's not just about building more schools. It's about a fundamental shift in how India educates its people.
Right, like changing the whole system.
Yeah, exactly. One of the articles, I think it was the Economic Times, really dug into this. We're talking about moving beyond just memorizing facts, yeah?
Yeah.
It's about giving students those 21st century skills, critical thinking, problem solving.
And coding.
Ah.
I can't believe I almost forgot about that. Coding, data analysis.
Right. That's the kind of stuff that's going to be in demand. You need people who can adapt, especially with the job market changing so fast.
Speaking of changing fast, one report you flagged, I think it was from the World Economic Forum, said like 1 billion jobs, 1 billion with a B, are going to be transformed by technology in the next decade. That's a whole lot of new skills people need.
Tell me about it. Which brings us to infrastructure, another thing you were curious about.
Oh yeah, roads, bridges, the works.
Right. But it's bigger than that. We're talking about projects like Paratmala. That's the one aiming to supersize India's highway network. But then there's also the digital side of things.
Oh, right, making sure everyone has access.
Exactly. Reliable internet, digital literacy programs. You can't have a digital economy if half the population can't get online, right? It's all connected.
It's like what they say, you can't have one without the other.
And that's where the finance sector struts in.
Right. That was a big part of the question, too. How can India do a better job supporting entrepreneurship?
And a lot of the research points to a few key things. Easier access to capital, cutting down on red tape, basically, making it easier to start and run a business.
Makes sense. If it's too complicated, who's going to bother?
Exactly. And of course, none of this happens in a bubble, right? We've got to loop back to the politicians. This was your big question, after all.
So what's the takeaway there? What kind of role should they be playing?
Well, based on everything we've read, it seems like transparency and accountability are key, plus having a real long-term vision. Like, where do you see India in 20 years? How do we get there?
And being open about it so everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. It's about creating that environment, the right environment, where education, infrastructure, all of it can kind of work together and boost India's development.
So we've talked about the what, the policies, the challenges, all that good stuff. But what about the how? That's a pretty big question, right?
Definitely. And honestly, it's one that could probably fill a whole other deep dive.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But it does make you think, doesn't it? We've looked at the big picture, all the stuff happening on a national level. But what about us, regular people? What can we do to support India's development? It's definitely something to think about.